So Minister Mkhunu has been constitutionally delinquent in more than a year later not assigning you any powers or functions. Can we accept that? Apart from the excuses that you've made for him for not doing so.
A constitutional delinquent, or simply a minister still finding his footing in a complex portfolio? That's the question now dominating discussions both inside and outside Parliament. The revelation by Deputy Minister Cedrick Nkabinde has laid bare what appears to be a deep-seated dysfunction within the police ministry, exposing how, for over a year, the two deputy ministers of police have operated without any clearly defined powers or responsibilities. It's an admission that has thrown the internal workings of the ministry into sharp focus, with lawmakers now questioning the extent to which Minister Zoleka Qodashe has exercised his authority. As testimonies pile up, they begin to paint a picture of a department mired in confusion. And for some, it raises deeper concerns about whether the leadership vacuum at the top may have opened doors for criminal elements to thrive within this critical part of the justice system. Hello and welcome. My name is Zoleka Qodashe. Join me as we deep dive into testimony and analysis of Cedrick Nkabide's submissions before Parliament's inquisitorial body. It was on the 30th of June 2024,
fellow South Africans,
when President Cyril Ramaphosa announced an executive consisting of members of Parliament from a government of national unity, a first in South Africa's constitutional democracy.
All the parties have made a commitment in writing to respect the Constitution and to promote accountable and transparent governance, evidence-based policies and decision-making.
According to Section 92, subsection 1 of the Constitution, the Deputy President and ministers are responsible for the powers and functions of the executive assigned to them by the President, while Section 93, subsection 1A, gives the President the powers to appoint any number of deputy ministers from among the members of the National Assembly.
This evening, I am pleased to announce the members of the National Executive of our country who will bear collective responsibility to give effect to the will of the people of South Africa. In forming the National Executive of our country, we have had to consider several factors and advance a number of key principles. We've had to ensure that the incoming government will be effective and that it will have people with the experience, the skills and capabilities to deliver on its mandate.
I, Cedrick Matlala.
Two of those deputy ministers are Cedrick Matlala and Dr. Polly Bushielo to the Police Ministry, and it's been 16 months since they've occupied those positions. One of them, Matlala, appeared before Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee to shed light on the inner workings of the department and his superior, Minister Zoleka Qodashe. But a quest that began with interrogations related to Mkhunu's role in the disbandment of KwaZulu-Natal's political killings task team quickly took a sharp turn, which added fire to Mkhunu's already ablaze inferno.
If after 12 months he has not given any function to you through a performance agreement, so he is simply saying, you guys are not adding any value to my work. So there's no need for me to formulate any performance agreement or any performance plan that delegates functions to you. Because a performance plan is triggered by the practical need, by a practical need. They don't just take it from the atmosphere. When there is a need for you to do something, they write that need down and give you responsibilities to resolve those needs. Now, that has not happened for 12 months. Now, do two deputy ministers add any value under the current form?
The Constitution also stipulates that ministers and deputy ministers are accountable to Parliament for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions.
If you do appear before the Portfolio Committee on Police, because you haven't been assigned any powers or functions, you can't account for anything.
In the absence of
powers not delegated. When you come to appear before the committee, like it happened 2 weeks back, SC, I had mandate from the acting minister to represent the department with full authority.
That's different from having been assigned powers in terms of the Constitution by Minister Mchunu.
Of course.
So Minister Mchunu has been constitutionally delinquent in more than a year later not assigning you any powers or functions. Can we accept that? Apart from the excuses that you've made for him for not doing so.
Yeah, look, I can't say he has he has been a constitutional delinquent. I can't say that.
For lawmakers, the revelations underscored the depth of dysfunction in the country's security cluster.
Your budget allocation is for a deputy minister that has designated responsibilities. When you come and account here, you're not accounting as a deputy minister, you're just representing the minister because you don't have a designated. Both deputy ministers don't have that. So essentially we are saying that also the minister, Mchunu, has even failed. It's wasteful expenditure because he's taken over a year just to give responsibilities. And I don't buy that story that he needed an entire year to work out what's happening in the police. That's why we had handover. So he could have even continued on what the previous ministry had done. And as he was moving along, where he saw the gap, he could have changed it. I am so sure, and you'll answer me, Deputy Minister, whether once he assigns a role, it cannot be changed after. Maybe you should answer that.
No.
Because a whole year of spending that much money on deputy ministers that do not have designated powers and responsibilities should be a problem.
Thank you, Chair, through you. It doesn't mean that because there were no signed off designated powers, we were not given responsibilities to do as the deputy ministers. We did, and there are things that were involved in, as I've outlined there as an example. Obviously, the 7th administration was going to have an increase within the ministry because we have 2 deputy ministers, not 1. And that in itself was going to lead to an increase. There's no way that you can add an extra person and there's no impact on the budget.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has previously been criticized for a bloated cabinet and executive. Defending his decision for a 77-member executive, the president has said it was to accommodate the 10 other parties which form part of the GNU. But with no assigned powers to the deputies in the police ministry, the rationality of Ramaphosa's decision is expected to be questioned yet again.
I think there was valuable information that's provided, and it's also quite revealing because it also revealed that you have a deputy minister with no real functional role in the police ministry. Which is also very interesting and raises other issues, quite aside from this inquiry.
Despite this, Matlala is convinced his role and that of other deputies is necessary.
Definitely they do, Honorable. It doesn't mean that delegations, because delegations have not done, therefore, the department can function without deputy ministers. It doesn't mean that. There is relevance to their creation, and as I said, that SAPS is not like other ministries. It's a huge department, a department that is complex in how it is structured. You have 4 entities that are in themselves departments. And you need to preside over them. So yes, there is a need and a necessity. The delay, it's a delay that we have had, but that delay cannot explain why you can't have deputy ministers. It had nothing to do with that.
Matlala says the minister has been trying to find his feet in the ministry and would rectify the matter once he returns from the leave of absence imposed upon him by the president. But what was clear for lawmakers is that there's a leadership vacuum within the police ministry. And despite Matlala's best efforts, it's a predicament he could not explain himself or the minister out of. When we return, we look at Matlala's view on his superior's move to issue a directive for the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Mkunu's letter for the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team on the 31st of December last year has been described as a New Year's resolution, and it's one that continues stirring political waves and sparking constitutional debates. As a probe into its lawfulness continues, Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee has sought to gauge the views from those within the ministry. Castle Matlala is no stranger to the police ministry. He served in the same position from 2019 to 2024 under then Police Minister Bheki Cele. With the establishment of the Political Killings Task Team in 2018, Matlala bore witness to the structure's success.
Well, the effectiveness of the team is not in question. They did an excellent job. Since they were instituted, there was progress around killings of activists, what one might call political killings that took place. There were progress. In fact, the effectiveness has never been an issue that was questioned within the space.
And when you said it was never in question, it never arose at all in your discussions with former Minister Cele?
No. That question was never asked.
Beyond question.
Yeah, they were doing their job, and I believe they were doing a good job.
So help me God.
But from 2024, Matlala would work with Minister Senzo Mkunu as the executive head of the ministry, and the winds of change began blowing.
The Political Killings Task Team. If you discuss the organogram and the organizational structure, they wouldn't necessarily appear on the board or wherever the president. No.
Yeah. When a presentation was made on the organizational structure, we were discussing the structure in terms of what is there and what are the challenges that we are confronted with as a country, and will engage. And in the process of discussions with the officials, we then arrive at a determination, for instance, around the inspectorate, where we resolve that in terms of the structure and where we are, we need more men and women on the ground to fight crime. And we therefore resolve that we don't need to continue with the inspectorate.
Mkunu previously told the committee that the organogram did not cater for the inclusion of the PKTT and stressed that the key role players, National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola, PKTT project leader and crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo, and KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi did not object to this. But he also said there was no legal duty to consult them.
The people in charge of the operations of the PKTT, General Mkhwanazi and Lieutenant General Khumalo, that they had not been consulted about the disestablishment of the task team?
Well, because the discussions we were having with the National Commissioner, for that decision to ultimately be implemented, it will necessarily need the engagement of all the role players.
Yeah. But don't you think that the minister should have consulted with him? They're the people directly involved.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that the ultimate dissolution will have to take place after interacting with all the relevant role players.
But it would not just be those three who would be shocked by the cards the minister had kept so tightly to his chest.
What was your reaction when you saw on social media that he had directed that the political killings task team be disbanded?
Well, as I said, I first dismissed it because it was odd for me to say something like that. And when he confirmed it himself, that he wrote it, and we must not be surprised. I didn't understand what could have motivated him to pen such a letter in the manner in which he did.
It would only be in January that Matlala would be acquainted with the full contents of the letter. Despite this and the team's success, he told the fact-finding body that he would have been in support of its disbandment. However, in the same breath, Matlala contradicted Mkunu's assertion that it was operating illegally.
Those expenses will not become irregular. They are within the law, and if the Auditor General then come to establish that no, this thing is irregular, he will do so and express an opinion. But I don't think the accounting officer will allow a situation where finances of the institutions are spent irregularly. That's why I'm saying there's no expenditure which was irregular that was incurred by the PKTT.
But Matlala corroborated the testimony given by Mkunu of a seventh administration without an interministerial committee. This despite the continued existence of the PKTT, which previously accounted to the IMC.
The minister testified, Minister Mkunu, he testified that there is no IMC in the 7th administration. Is this true?
Yes.
So there is no IMC in the 7th
I'm not aware of any.
Former Minister Cele said that as far as he's concerned, there is still an IMC and a new administration does not dissolve an IMC. You testified that in the 6th administration you attended at least 2 meetings of the IMC. Is former Minister Cele's testimony true?
Well, what I know is that I haven't heard of an IMC meeting, so I take it that the 7th administration has not appointed people to serve in the IMC.
On the powers of the minister to disband the PKTT, Matlala was seemingly in agreement with Mkunu that a political initiative birthed the team.
If we look objectively at the events, he's always been heading this political task team, isn't it?
Askis?
Lieutenant General Mkonazi.
Yeah.
He's always been that's his project. And you know that from the first time when you interacted with the Interministerial Committee, the presentations done by him and Kumalo.
I don't know whether it will be correct to say that is his project. It happens to be in KZN. But I can say it's the president's project. Because the president initiated a process that led to the formation of this team.
But there were also allegations that Matlala was forced to answer himself. According to Mkwanazi, suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection Cedrick Nkabinde late last year sent a message to a deputy minister alleging that spy equipment worth 13 million rand had been illegally sourced from China, and called for Masemola to account. But was Matlala on the other end of the line?
Senior Counsel, if you follow the content of that message, it's clear that the person who wrote it is peddling information. And if you receive such a message, you dismiss it, because it says that for any amount above, is it 30 or 20, 10 million, you need the authority of the minister. There's no such a thing. There's no such a thing. The minister has no role in procurement. Whether it's for 1 cent or for whatever amount, the minister have no opinion.
But at the center of the allegations of criminal infiltration of the criminal justice system is Northwest businessman Brown Mogotsi, whose relationship with Mchunu Matlala questioned after a meeting before the Police Portfolio Committee on the 5th of March this year. Mchunu allegedly said there was nothing untoward about the controversial figure. For his part, Matlala says he does not know the man who is allegedly deeply intertwined in the workings of the SAPS.
The ANC is an organization that have got all manner of people in it. And he is one of those individuals who are part of this body called the African National Congress, who do things that they are not reflective of what this organization is all about. And he can know leaders of the ANC, including knowing the president, but there is not a shred of evidence that he is ANC.
The senior ANC leader, however, is in agreement that the doubt cast on his fellow comrades also falls on their political home.
It's a painful thing for me. I can't watch the screen and really watch it from beginning to an end, because it's very, very painful. I never for a moment envisioned myself seated and going through what we are going through. Today from 11 o'clock to now, 7 o'clock, we are seated here. This is not what we were elected to come and do. We were elected to serve our people to the best of our ability. And this is not serving our people. So I'm not proud of that.
At this stage, the evidence before Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee seems more like a political tug-of-war than a clear-cut account of events with concrete evidence to substantiate the submissions before it. From the testimony of ministers past and present to that of deputies and senior police officials, much of what's been presented so far has been a case of he said, she said, with each side offering a different version of events and accounts of their understanding. But more role players will appear with the hopes of providing clarity for the body. When we come back, we'll look at what lies ahead for the committee. Welcome back as we shift our focus to the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption, or IDAC, which Mkhwanazi has accused of effecting an arrest against PKTT project leader and head of crime intelligence Dumisani Khumalo for ulterior motives. This arrest infuriated Mkhwanazi and would be one of the factors that triggered his 6th of July bombshell expose.
General Khumalo got arrested. That angered General Mkhwanazi to an extent that he sent a message to one of his friends, colleague, that says, can I proceed there? No. He sent a message of a song of Tupac that says, I'll kill them at night when they're sleeping. Now, he was so furious. And then even General Masemola, to an extent that I began to hear that they feel that I have something to do with that arrest.
A move to quash reforms in crime intelligence. This is how KwaZulu-Natal's top cop has described the arrest of the unit's head, Dumisani Khumalo. IDAC was established as a permanent structure within the National Prosecuting Authority in August last year. Prior to that, it was established in 2019 as a result of the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. It was tasked with investigating complex corruption cases emanating from the Commission's investigations. But according to Mkwanazi, the body tasked with investigating corruption has now been championing it.
I'm here today, at this hour, talking about the same thing. And I'm going to confirm again to the honorable members that IDAC is divided into two. The very same institution that these members established in this house is divided into two. The section that I will refer to as a rogue section of IDAC is the one that effected an arrest on Khumalo. IDAC has got good men and women that are working there, under the very same leader, Advocate Johnson, who are responsible for cases that are serious, that emanate from the state capture, amongst others. If IDAC is honest, if Advocate Johnson is honest, he's going to come here before this committee and take an oath and confirm what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is not a lie, I'll prove it. I want to invite these members to get a profile of the arresting officer of Cedrick Khumalo and the team, Mr. Padayache. Get his profile. You're going to know that Padayache is an ex-crime intelligence member who has never touched a case docket in his life. But IDAC employed him as the senior investigator responsible for the arrest of Khumalo. He's the one who's a boss in that case. This is a person who's now employed to work in an entity of government that is charged with the responsibility in terms of the Amendment Act of the NPA, that they must deal with serious and complex cases. Well, I don't know whether is it serious and complex case to arrest people for having sat in the panel, like you are sitting here, and you make recommendations to the higher structure that is going to appoint. You facilitate this process at a committee, you are taking it to Parliament. The Parliament will take it further. In the police, a committee that is arrested, it's a committee that Khumalo is part of. One of the charges is that Khumalo manipulated by forming the committee himself. It is before the court, honorable chair members, that Khumalo did not even recommend that panel. It is Gerald Madondo who signed a letter to the National Commissioner to recommend a panel where Khumalo was included as a member of the panel.
So General Kunazi, you are aware, because I put it to you, but you're clearly now aware that that is at least the reason given why he was arrested. It's this whole appointment
That's exactly
process. No, that's the reason that they give. Because I put it to you that Advocate Johnson had told me it had nothing to do with the political killing task team.
If I were to have an opportunity to sit where you are sitting, SC, and Advocate Johnson is sitting here, I'm given an opportunity to cross-question her. I'll prove it to this house that what she told you, if she did say that, it's a lie. The Khumalo's arrest is a project. It's a project to counter the criminal investigation in Gauteng.
Khumalo was arrested at the OR Tambo International Airport in June this year over allegations of an alleged unlawful appointment.
IDAC, honorable chair and members, arrested the members of crime intelligence literally in the same month. I don't know how many weeks apart. The very same IDAC had a case of over 90 million rand of ESCOM, if I'm not mistaken. One of the members that are charged is a member of parliament in that case, Mr. Mlefe. IDAC summoned the people that they wanted to arrest to appear at the police station in the morning. They arrived at the police station in front of cameras wearing suits. They went to the police station, they made them to be charged, gave their fingers. From there, they drove to court. They appeared before the magistrate. The court granted them bail. They paid their bail. The same evening, they were at home with their families for 90 million rand. The same institution, IDAC. How is it possible that they are going to wait for Khumalo at the airport for having been part of the panel to appoint someone who's going to earn a salary of R1 million per year? But they wait for that person at the airport and arrest that person. So what Advocate Johnson will come and explain, justify the two that happened under her watch, I will argue that the ones that were charging Brian Leaf and them, honorable members there, they were respecting them, despite the seriousness of the charge of 90 million rand. But the one of Khumalo, they were not respecting them because the project was not this promotion of this girl. The project is stopping that operation in Gauteng.
And now the country's top cop appears to agree Khumalo may have a target on his back. Questions are mounting about who is behind the alleged campaign against him and what motives might be driving apparent crackdowns against him.
General Ndlandla Mkhwanazi said he thinks that General Khumalo is a target. Do you also hold the same view? Because he even said that at some point there was an attempt to kill him at the airport, and they had to beef up his security. And there was also an attempt to link him with the murder of Cindy Somakaka, which was frivolous. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that.
Who is targeting Mr. Khumalo? And why is he a target?
I wouldn't know why they target him, but one thing I know is that General Khumalo is a good investigator, and he does his investigation proper. Yes, I would agree that he's been targeted, and I do agree that there were those incidents, and we beefed up security.
But who are the role players in the alleged rot within IDAC?
Maybe if you can take the committee through, how did you arrive at the conclusion that IDAC is divided at two? And who are the prominent members of this rogue section in IDAC? And Chair, I'm also asking this because I'm Chair of Justice, so it's very important for our work as well.
Honorable Chair and members, the entity within the NPA that is responsible for investigating corruption in the country, which was recently established, I say this divided into two sections. I made an example yesterday and I invited the members to do the profile of an arresting officer of the members of crime intelligence. You're going to know that he's an ex-crime intelligence member. And when you look at what IDAC is supposed to deal with, then you ask yourself whether does this investigating officer, Mr. Padayache, fits the profile of being appointed at IDAC to first place. Whether does he have qualifications, skills, and everything to do with investigation to deal with such sensitive cases that the legislature was intended to be done by IDAC. That's a point of departure that you're going to see that is people that will just move. That's the first thing. Secondly, you look at the number of cases that are within IPIT, or they were within IPIT when Mr. Sesoko was still the boss, head of investigation at IPIT. And how many of those case dockets were moved from IPIT to IDAC? And what was the reason for such movement? And that's another reason why I'm saying that. And thirdly, you look at just a profile of all the cases IDAC is dealing with, and you take that entire caseload, you compare with the establishment of IDAC, and you see whether a typical example of the arrest of an appointment of an officials within crime intelligence of who's going to earn a salary over a period of 12 months of just over R1 million, does it meet the requirements of what IDAC was established for? For IDAC to travel from Pretoria, coming here and take a statement from the complainant, the Member of Parliament, is that what IDAC, is that what the legislature was intending to do with IDAC? Or has IDAC lost the plot? So those are the typical examples that I'm putting there. The other members within the very same section of IDAC I'm talking about might have found themselves there because they're looking for jobs. But we are here today because some of those members do not like what's happening. They themselves, they are there, they see the wrong. They are doing because they're employed, but at least they get to share this information. Hence, we are here today. We are privileged that there might be members within the very bad section of IDAC, but they are good in their heart because they are able to share this information with us. They are there, they can see what is wrong, and I cannot expose them now and say so and so and so and so. So while the section is a bad section, but not everyone in that section is bad. There are members within the very same section that are good at heart. They just don't like what's happening, and I cannot give their names, unfortunately. I want to isolate that one, Mr. Padayache.
So is it the evidence of the general that Mr. Padayache is possible the center of the rogue section at IDAC?
I will argue that he's not.
Okay.
He's an enabler. He's a pawn in the game.
And according to former National Commissioner and Police Minister Bheki Cele, it is this state apparatus which is being used to settle scores.
You mentioned earlier today that, we know about it, that there were members who tapped your communication. They listened to your calls. Do you know who those members are, and if so, are they still in the police?
You know the other one. Who is Padayache or Peruman, the one who arrested Kumalo?
From IDAC?
From IDAC, is one of them.
Sure.
That guy, 3 guys were arrested. I think one is Cele and can't remember, and Peruman. So they were made sacrificial land by Moodley.
So Moodley was also involved?
Not small time, big time.
Yo.
Moodley.
Was, sorry I'm interrupting, I just want to get clarity. So Moodley, was Khan involved in any way?
No, I wouldn't tell if Khan was, I don't have that information.
Okay.
But Moodley, yes. And then, who's this? Padayache or Peruman, this guy? He has been in crime intelligence. He has now moved to IDAC and is regarded as a top investigator. There are no investigators in CI. Since when he has become a top investigator? That he has, his first job is to arrest Kumalo after he has written a letter by Nkabinde. Because Kumalo was arrested after the letter has been written by Nkabinde. So where does it come from? But the other thing, the husband of the head of the IDAC works in the CI. And they're not friends with Kumalo. You would know that there is a structure that oversees police. That is your iPad. You would know that there is a structure that oversees Hawks. That is a Hawks judge. Who oversees IDAC? Who oversees IDAC? Or are they law unto themselves? You can't have a powerful structure that does as its wishes and nobody looks after it. Hence, we have a judge that looks after the Hawks. That judge is there. You report to the judge, you go to IPID, either they work or what, they exist. I guess these lawyers sitting there, there can be a structure that you can take to them if they get out of way. There is a structure where you took Klope to, whether correct or incorrect, but where do you take IDAC? When they arrest somebody for hiring somebody, well, it's a disaster to have such a structure that nobody oversees it. Maybe the legislators can look at that.
As these testimonies unfold, a deeper question emerges. Is what's happening within IDAC merely an isolated case, or is it a symptom of a far greater issue festering within the broader policing and oversight landscape?
You can see that General Masemola, firstly, General Khumalo and other team members were arrested by IDAC. I didn't know the reason why they were arrested. I was not even part of the whole thing. But I know that that angered General Mkhwanazi and General Masemola to an extent that they reacted to this arrest. And unfortunately, a newspaper article came. Unfortunately, the newspaper article then suggested that the National Commissioner will be arrested next week. And as a result, the next thing what happened, for the whole week, he was not actually that much active because we could not see him. We were the one attending the meetings. And I heard General Mkhwanazi last week here in this committee saying the National Commissioner was at the doorstep of being arrested. And that's why they had to do what they did. So, which confirmed the fact that that was a preemptive strike. But what I want to say is that is there a faction? It is for this committee to decide.
We'll answer this question and more after the break. Thanks for staying with us as we unpack what appears to be fractures in the security apparatus, with crime intelligence at the center. Khumalo's testimony will be key to untangling the web, but can Parliament guarantee his appearance before the Ad Hoc Committee? Khumalo, as the project leader of the Political Killings Task Team, could be the key to cracking much of what is before the Ad Hoc Committee. But his evidence before the Commission of Inquiry tasked with investigating claims of alleged criminal infiltration and political interference in the criminal justice system itself hangs in the balance after he apparently fell ill.
How are we engaging evidence leaders of another commission? We should be engaging, and we've made this very clear, directly with Lieutenant General Khumalo, not via evidence leaders of another commission. So I think we can just close this and ask our evidence leaders to make direct contact, and let's hear directly from the lieutenant when is he going to be available to come here. And then we must get a report like that, not our evidence leaders engaging leaders on evidence leaders on another commission.
But amid the blue uniforms, the ranks and the badges, a battle for power is suspected to be brewing, with claims of rival factions tearing through the ranks of the police service.
Would it be correct, General, to say that the SAPS is factionalized?
It could be yes or no, but to some degree, I cannot say it's factionalized. We had experienced this when there was amalgamation that happened in '95, because a vendor speaking person from Limpopo and a Xhosa speaking person couldn't necessarily get along because we came from different cultures. And people from the MK, former statutory force, and the likes that came in, there was a bit of challenge back then. But as the time progresses, we started adjusting. Training started being synchronized, and we started drilling the same pace, and commands and everything. The culture started building together. What becomes a challenge nowadays, maybe to some degree you could say at the head office there's some problems. You can call that. Because almost everyone that sits at the head office, they come from different parts of the country. And they tend to favor each other. And that's why we start feeling a bit of a challenge. But by and large, we'll have a police station commander in Eastern Cape, in Western Cape, who come from the Bob, and is doing well in the province where he's working. So that cross-pollination in the province, I don't think factionalism in terms of that exists in the organization anymore. Politically, then we have a problem.
The fractures have been clear for lawmakers in Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee, particularly in the handling of the 121 dockets of the Political Killings Task Team. It was previously heard that Masemola called for a phased-out approach to the disbandment of the PKTT. Despite this, Sibiya allegedly proceeded to give effect to Mkunu's 31st of December directive, recalling all the criminal dockets. Mkwanazi alleges that they gathered dust in Sibiya's office in Pretoria, and when they were to be called back, there was one officer who was tasked with inspecting them, a Major General, Mary Motsepe. Motsepe is also the author of what has come to be known as the Motsepe Report, looking into the status of the dockets.
It's a bit strange that a junior person like General Motsepe will respond to the National Commissioner in a way that you are saying she did. Now, we are talking about her through you because you are telling us. And in your answer, you are, okay, maybe let me ask the question before I can explain why I think you are insinuating something, and I will explain when I come to the next question. Was it completely impossible in your own view? Was it completely impossible to mitigate the possibility of tampering if they come and take the photos on the side of General Motsepe and her team?
I was already on suspension myself, on stay at home. So I had no access to that. And as far as I'm concerned, in all fairness, General Mkwanazi made a press briefing.
General, with due respect, you have been a policeman for 37 years. I don't want to know whether you were there or not there. I'm asking. You gave us this information about General Motsepe. We're not going to ask about it. You gave us. All I'm asking, given your own experience and knowledge as our dictative in chief in this country, was it absolutely impossible for somebody in the position of General Motsepe to mitigate the possibility of tampering if these people, the 10 people who were coming in to take the photos?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Yeah, I'm not sure what was the circumstances and the situation in terms of the people coming, 10 people to come in.
Okay. What would you say to somebody who says, no, 10 people are coming to take photos. If we have to guard against them manipulating this document, we'll put 10 others there to watch them. And somebody said, you know why that did not happen? It's because the defiance of General Motsepe was occasioned by the fact that she belongs to this other faction, which is suspicious of the National Commissioner because it's aligned to General Sibiya.
And while many consider the factions to be glaring, some do not.
Factionalism is two groups within an organization that has a different view and interests at heart. So maybe faction in the context of SAPS should be phrased as corrupted SAPS members versus uncorrupted SAPS members. Crime-implicated drug cartel SAPS members versus great hard-working policemen and women. Maybe it should be phrased as brown envelopes to certain individuals within SAPS versus hard-working policemen and women who earn their salaries the right way. Maybe it should be put as SAPS members serving their own interests versus the interests of those of South Africans. Would you agree with that version of factionalism in the SAPS, Deputy Minister?
Obviously, I won't. Police officers that are honestly doing their work and serving the country to the best of their ability can be characterized as a faction. They can't. It will be wrong of us to make such a determination, because these are officers, professionals who are doing their job.
October has seen a marathon of testimonies led in the Ad Hoc Committee inquiry, alongside other evidence heard at the Commission of Inquiry, investigating criminal infiltration and political interference in the criminal justice system. November promises to be equally fast-paced, with Brown Mogotsi, Cedrick Nkabinde and the infamous Vusinuzi Cat Matlala testifying. Stay tuned to Newzroom Afrika on channel 405. I'm Zoleka Qodashe, and thanks for watching.